Hey guys and gals, welcome back to another episode of the Constructive Liberty Podcast, intentionally designing a lifestyle of freedom. Today I've got going to be a fun topic today because we're talking about annoying people, and not as in how we annoy people, but as in how to deal with annoying people. I have Ilene Marcus, the founder of Ladderism, with me today. We're talking about managing yourself to better manage others, those annoying people that we talked about. Basically, putting your priorities in order and bringing others along instead of being captive to other people's needs. Ilene Marcus is someone who holds the ladder for executives moving up, moving down, or barely hanging on. And we've all been there, even if we're not executives of massive companies, we've all been there where we're either moving up, moving down. So often it seems like we're just barely hanging on by a thread. But she has over 32 years of experience spearheading high-stakes teams at multi-million-dollar organizations, managing over 10,000 employees. She's the author of the book, Managing Annoying People. I think I should have bought that book. I didn't even know it existed until today. So I need to go buy it because, I've faced annoying people. As a Techstars Global Facilitator, she travels the country mentoring entrepreneurs to start and scale companies. She earned both her MSW and MPA from Columbia University. Now she creates funny videos and writes helpful articles for anyone climbing in or out of careers, professional life, helping people earn more money. Ilene, welcome to the podcast.
So glad to be here, Ken. So glad.
Give us a little bit of your background, not so much what I just read, but how did you go from young Ilene, growing up, mom and dad? What kind of experiences led you to Ladderism, the company that you're running today?
Well, I've always been running from something. So, I finally figured out if you put a ladder, you might get higher up and get or lower down when you need it. But, I grew up in the suburbs in the 1960s and 70s, and everybody was recovering from something, right? So it was the war. Both my families had been, some survived in the concentration camps, some escaped the war. So they had like that, generational trauma going on. And then they lived through the Depression. So that scarcity. So I grew up in a house, where my father was always angry. My mother was always a follower and my sisters were always a complainer. So to my father's anger, I became always happy. It's like I became the opposite. To my mother, always a follower, I became a leader. Let's get this done. Let's do this. And to my sisters, always complaining, I became a doer. Just get it done. Shut up and get it done. So that really founded me. But in those days, they called me a bully. They called me controlling. They'd say I had to be the boss of them. And they said it like it was a bad thing. And if they had maybe said, oh, you're an entrepreneur, you're a leader, you're a manager, my life might have been different. But
right?
Until I realized that those skills were actually marketable and highly, highly desirable in someone that, can put the pedal to the metal and see all aspects of operations and know how to, really come to completion. That's how I got there. I found I'm very gifted in finding workarounds. Who doesn't love a workaround, right? You're part carpenter, right? So, there's always a field condition, always a workaround.
Yep, always.
And the workaround in my house was I found the community. I didn't have to be home for dinner because if I went to the Girl Scouts, there was a meeting there. If I did something at the temple, if I was on the swim team, if I babysat. So I looked outside of the house to find value because I wasn't valued in my house. So I always got well fed. I didn't have to be home. And what do you know? I learned a lot of stuff and met a lot of people and really learned how to engage in groups in that way. So that's what led me to what I do.
That's awesome. I love it when people can recognize that the things that they experienced or like you said, you became what you needed in the situation and you help people overcome it. I love when people can connect that to their career. Like it's their natural talents, their natural gifts, and they learn how to tap into that for their career. So often kids, and I don't want to go off on a huge rabbit hole about schooling and education and all of that, but it's like we don't train kids how to use their natural gifts. It's here's a box, we take this unique kid and we shove them into the box, and they come out of school and never get into something that really fits how they were designed. And so I love that you saw that and created your own thing in that. Has that been super challenging for you, or like what's your thoughts around that?
Well, I think that at first it was just those hard skills, right? And then I realized they were marketable and I can make money. And it's, I was always a little outrageous, a little too out there, always would say a little too much. It wasn't until I really found my people that said, I want more of you, like a chocolate cake. You're not too much. My whole life, especially at home, it was, you're too loud, you're too this, don't show, especially growing up with that generational trauma of war and famine, fly under the radar, don't show your feelings, never show who you are. So it's definitely been a growth process to really lean into, I don't have to be buttoned down. I don't have to be corporate. I can be outrageous. I can use my voice. I can give crazy examples. I can do it my way. And that is really accelerating with ladderism.
Yeah, for sure. When you can find your own voice and be unique, then it helps you take off. I mean, it really, people connect better because you're authentic.
Yeah.
And I think the authenticity thing is a little overdone today. Seems like everything that comes out, people discover something, and some people are going to take it way far to the opposite extreme. It's like the seesaw effect. But you can find that good balance there, but I think we do need that authenticity. I keep going off on rabbit trails. Sorry about that.
Rabbit hole is my middle name, but I want that authenticity, because I think it's important, because I think what distinguishes me is, everybody tells you be authentic. I agree with you. So overused. What the problem is how do we get there? What are the day-to-day actions? What do I actually do when I hit that rabbit hole, when I hit the wall, when I hit a field condition? Everybody tells you, go lead your authentic life, be this, practice this, but no one says, oh my God, in that moment, how do I get out of this, keeping my composure, my grace, and my together without killing myself? And I say killing, in a gentle fashion, without killing myself for someone else. Right. Yeah. So that's really what the finding your freedom is about, and finding that path.
Yeah, sure. I love it. Your book, Managing Annoying People. I love the title. Where did that come from?
Well, I was coaching CEOs. I was doing a lot of work, and every day they would say the same things to me. This staff person is driving me crazy. This person's sucking my time. I hate when I have to meet with this one. And little by little, I'd watch them, and I watch them meet with this one. And I'd go into their meetings, and I decided it wasn't really their team. It was them. They were setting the tone. They were bringing something like emotions that even if they showed up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, people could tell they were angry underneath, or they were irritated, or they didn't like the way somebody was doing something, but they weren't talking about it. They were trying to be, really buttoned down. And I would constantly be telling them, it's the way you approach your team. You're the one rolling your eyes. You're the one setting the tone. You're the one making them think that they have to give you the work this way. And, I had one particularly rough week, and I sat down and wrote the book to give to someone instead of I couldn't say it again. Right. So I wrote it down, and next time, I'm like, here, read it at night. Remember it,
Yeah.
That's how it started. It started as a way to tell my clients, we've gone over this 20 times. I've done what I can do for you. Now, if you can't start managing your own behavior, you're never going to get control of your team, and you're never going to reach your outcomes. So that's how the book came about, from people who were, not managing well, but thought they were, because they were the leader, they were the CEO, they had the certificate.
Yeah. I like that. It reminds me of a quote that I heard recently, and to paraphrase it, if everybody you meet in a day is annoying, you're probably the annoying one.
Like I always say, one person, okay. Two, look in the mirror.
Exactly. So what's the probability in a given day that somebody will annoy us, and we, instead of intentionally acting in a way to manage that we just react in a negative way? What goes on? The
probability is 100%. And anyone who tells you different is lying. Something is going to get you upset, right? Someone put the gas pump back wrong. The woman in front of you didn't turn her blinker on, the woman or whoever's in the car in front of you didn't turn her blinker on, someone didn't follow through on something, something is going to annoy you. It's the level at which that irritation occurs and then how you respond. Because annoyance is a physical state like anger, sadness, your amygdala, your brain gets triggered, your breathing increases, your pupils dilate, you start to look crazy, your heart rate goes up, you're sweating. And so you really are in a fight or flight response. And that's what triggers your reactions instead of your purposeful actions. So you are going to get annoyed. So it's about learning to feel, wait, those triggers, we all kind of have to learn, wait, why am I acting this way? I'm hungry, I'm this, I'm that. Wait, annoying is a real thing. It's not like, oh, that's just annoying. How does that translate to me? And then what do I do?
So you mentioned some of the physical signs of the annoyance. Are there more? Like, how can we actually recognize when we're annoyed? Because, I never really thought of it as an actual thing like anger or sadness or annoyance. We tend to, for some reason, separate that in and put that on other people. They annoyed me rather than as to how I feel. How can we recognize that and actually deal with that in the moment? And what does it look like when we react consciously or act consciously to deal with that versus just reacting? How can we go about that?
And I love that you picked up on that because that's really, the whole game. Like, it's not the other people. It's me. I'm letting them push my buttons, right? The old thing, if someone's pushing your buttons, don't push back, move your buttons, right? Or if I'm pointing the finger at you, I got 3 pointing back at me, like we said, look in the mirror if you're meeting, a few annoying people. So the first thing that happens is, your blood flows and your muscles react. Now, it's important to realize why someone might annoy you. There are usually, I say, 3 triggers, right? There's reminders, mirrors, and behaviors. So a behavior can be someone's eating their cereal loud, they're putting dirt through the carpet, something they're doing at that moment is really getting under your skin because you're going to have to clean it, it's a problem or whatever. So there are behaviors. There are reminders. They remind you of an aunt or uncle or a best friend that drove you crazy, or a teacher that talked real slow. And as soon as they start talking, you want to, you're like this. The one that comes up the most that people are hesitant to own are reminders. You see something in them that reminds you of you, and it irritates you because they're, maybe they're taking the best piece of chicken. Maybe they're sitting in the front row. Maybe they have, they said the thing you thought was stupid to say and the boss loved it. So it's those reminders that start to get you irritated, and you can feel it. It's, it's a little more subtle than anger, but your blood flows and your muscles start getting pumped. After that, your lymphatic system gets involved, and you start to, your heart rate goes up, your breathing increases. So there are actual physical symptoms. So the first one is like that lizard response, right? You're going to jump. The second one is, you're starting to actually look a little crazy physically and feel it. The adrenaline is going. And then that actually affects up here, your rational thinking and your problem solving. So when you're in that state, slow down. I call it start stopping, right? Instead of like just, I might be, I might have been grown up in the suburbs, but I am a gunslinger. I shoot from my hip, both guns loaded every time.
Yeah.
Start stopping. It's never a good day to go on a diet, to do something different, to not, to start an exercise routine. So when you feel that, like, I got to say this now, start stopping, zip that lip, that simple. Write down what you mean to say, and start to think about like, why am I so pissed off? But really, it is about being in that moment and feeling, I always say, like, when you have that urgent need to speak, that's a pretty good clue.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. So, often when we're annoyed, we feel the urge to suppress it, or at least I do. Maybe some people don't. Like, there are people that just spit out whatever comes into their mind. It just, as it flows through their brain, it flows out of their mouth. But a lot of us, certain things we think we need to suppress it. Are there negative what's the negative side of suppressing it and not dealing with it in the right way? And how is the right way to deal with that without lashing out? Speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, well, that's a great question because, I think we all learned during COVID that most things are cumulative, right? Loneliness, anger, everything, the more, you say, oh, this doesn't matter or that doesn't matter, but it adds on and it accumulates. And annoyance is like that. Exactly. We think it's a low temperature. I can laugh it off. I could do something, but it really does take a toll on you. And, a lot of people talk about how you show up at work and keep your eyes open and your energy. But this is a lot deeper. This is kind of like back to, even though that authenticity is overused, people can really sense when you are not happy with them. And you think you are showing up like so willing and such a team player and no one knows. But, just like a dog knows who to stay away from, even people that are annoying you kind of have that, that insight that, wait, this person is off today, or this person is acting different to me.
Yeah.
So, I say there are basically, three things you can do. The first thing is to, I call it to right size the situation. I call it to Goldilocks the situation, So like, remember Goldilocks, right? She got lost in the woods. Was it too hot, too cold, just right? Was the bed too hot, too cold, just right? So, am I blowing this out of proportion? Is it a little thing? Is it someone who interrupted me in a meeting? Or is it someone who took my idea and called it their own and gave it to the boss? Like, how big is the situation? And often when we are annoyed, the thing we forget about Goldilocks is she was trespassing. She was not in her own house. Do you belong in that territory? Is this yours to worry about? So Goldilocks is not just about perspective and right sizing it. It's about, should I even be thinking about that? Right? Like, right? So like I go to someone's house for dinner and they haven't boiled the pasta yet. And I'm like, what time are we going to be eating? And I'm getting all annoyed that I showed up on time. Right. And they haven't, but how do I know? Maybe they have it in the oven. Maybe it's somewhere else. Like, it's not mine to worry about what time they're putting the dinner out when they invited me over. So
exactly.
Trespassing. The second one is to identify your BS, your blind spots. I know you thought I was going to say something else.
Good one.
They're kind of the same thing, right? I drive a very high-tech car, but there's still a blind spot. There's something I can't see. And think about that in you. Like, we talked about this before. I am really enthusiastic because I grew up in a house full of depressed people who showed up like this and never. So I'm like, oh, let's go. We're there. And some people that can really piss off. It really makes them annoyed. So even though I think breezing into the office, the meeting, the party, oh, I'm here now, let's begin. Some people, especially in office when I used to roll in late, people would react to that in a negative way. That was a blind spot for me. I had to see that. Maybe I'm always, I had one guy who he always brings like a stack of files to every meeting. And the rest of the team was just like, oh, here's, call him John. Here's John with his files again, and like, he's like, oh, I'm prepared. I have everything. Look at me. And everybody else was like, oh, he's going to ask the same questions and give the same charts, right? So what's your blind spot? What aren't you seeing about how others are reacting? And then the final one is really, let it go. Before you start stopping, like it's not your only bite at the apple, right? Just because something happened today, this one situation doesn't define you. And if it does define you, you got much bigger problems. Call me immediately. But you have much bigger problems, than you think. But this one situation, if it doesn't work out in your favor or someone, gets you upset, if you keep your mouth shut and start stopping today, you are going to be in a much better situation down the road than if you were that big mouth like I, or, say something under your breath, which was my signature move.
and everybody hears it, but yeah.
Oh yeah, they heard it under my breath.
You mentioned something earlier that, or you alluded to the fact that when we come across those annoying people, it's often us. Or you said if it's one person, fine. If it's two, probably should start looking in the mirror. How do we really know when it actually is us versus when it's the other person and, they're actually doing something that you should legitimately be annoyed at? What what's the difference there? How do you recognize that?
This is one that if you had asked me, we were joking, Ken and I, before the show, because I sent in 2 forms, right? So this is one that might have been different on my 2 forms, because if you had asked me this 6 months ago, right? And I've been talking about this now for 7 years, I would have said, oh, you have to really look at the situation and look at the data. I don't subscribe to that anymore. It is always you. It is always you. The responsibility, they might be crazy. They might be insane. They might be doing something illegal. Then it's you. If they're doing something illegal, you need to call the police. If they're doing something inappropriate, you need to report them. If they're doing something stupid, you need to walk away. It's always you, right? Because it's staying in that situation and watching them and not doing anything that gets us more and more revved up. So even if, oh my God, I can't believe that guy, I don't know what he did. He put he did something that could, do public harm. He tied his bike to the bus so he could get on and the bus is falling off. You report it or you get off the bus. So it does impact you and it is annoying, but it's going to haunt you and not follow you as long if you actually take an action that serves you and puts you in a better place. This is a place to be selfish, because if you're not selfish, another very overutilized I can't even say that word.
Colloquialism. Yeah, I think.
Put your oxygen mask on first.
Right.
You take care of you and get yourself out of the situation, remove yourself, right size it, figure out what you are, figure out, did they cross a line? If it's a workplace, do I need to go to the boss? Is it a manager? Is it a whistleblower thing? Am I embarrassed? If someone looking in at me, would they say, oh my God, she was crazy, she overreacted or he overreacted? But if that's not the situation, you've got to take care of you first.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. My wife and I have had this conversation quite often over the last couple of months of how, there are definitely people that annoy us or make us angry or do these things. And it's not that they're doing the thing to us. Their action exists in a vacuum, essentially, as to how we should relate and react to it. How our initial, maybe first reaction is involuntary, but how we follow up and follow through on that is always our choice, because after that initial couple of seconds, you can regain control over yourself. You can stop, take a couple of deep breaths, zip the lip, like you said earlier, and choose how we want to proceed. I had somebody say recently, think about how you want to show up in that situation. Like, okay, so this person is screaming at me in my face. Like, okay, step back and say, wow, this is interesting. What brought this on? How do I want to respond to this? Like, what's going on here? And really think about what your body's doing, what it's telling you. Like, look at the situation from a bird's eye view and how do I want to resolve this? What's the outcome that would be beneficial here? And think about it that way. It's super, super helpful.
Yeah, I love that. One of my catchphrases is your reactions speak louder than your actions. And that's what you're saying, because we plan our actions. Our reactions are in the moment. And I always tell my clients, especially if it's someone in a big, organization or something, with a lot of liability, everyone has a phone. Everyone can record you. How are you going to feel when you see yourself? Never mind looking above. They can record that interaction. Is that the leader? Is that the person you want to be?
Yeah. Wow. So I imagine, you spend a lot of time talking about dealing with annoying people, and it's often hard to take our own advice. What's a situation where you have, used your own advice, and how did you resolve that?
I have to tell you, Ken, there are so many situations, up to this morning probably. But I really, for me, and one of the things I was going to tell you in those situations when you have people, sometimes mother-in-laws or relatives or cousins or people that are really in your world, someone you sit on a committee with that you can't get away from, I use the trick of 3 phrases, right? So I come up with a phrase like, that's interesting. So I no longer say like, what the F are you talking about? Or I don't get into that, right? Our narrative informs also some of our state. So I come up with, oh, that's interesting. Oh, I'll have to check that out. oh, maybe I'll follow up, So I have my 3 phases that when someone's off and running and I feel myself, I'm going to be off and running, right? It slips through my head or oh, this is so annoying. I say, that's interesting. It's almost like you Southern guys, bless her heart, like
Yeah.
I find my phrases and those really calm you down in that moment. There are always times, especially if you deal with someone a lot, that you have to say, listen, and, we all know this, use the I statements. But I use a line like this. Is that the way you talk to someone you value? Is that what we want to be talking about right now? And people are kind of caught back. And if you don't go down the rabbit hole with them, which was my usual thing, oh, you want to talk about that? I'll one up you. I'll one up you. So, pretty much we're both really annoyed at each other. But, it's that butterfly effect. If I act a little differently, if I stay calm, if I don't raise my voice, if I look at them in the eyes, if I touch them gently on the arm, they're going to vibrate a little differently. And eventually everything changes. So, it's really small, steady little steps. But those 3 phrases, that's interesting. You don't say, I'm going to check that out. What a difference instead of, are you kidding me? Oh my God, why do I have to listen to this? Right. So that changes everything.
I like that. That's interesting. No, it's no, that's right. That's fantastic advice. Like if you can stop, don't say what you really want to say, because often, for me, there's so many things that I might want to say that I just can't say anything. But to have those little phrases ready is super, super helpful. Just something that you can pull out of your pocket like that.
And make sure they work for you. They're your vernacular, the way you speak.
Right. For sure. Ilene, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been super helpful. Where can people find you and reach out to you, follow along what you've got going on, find your videos, and, if somebody's interested in some coaching from you, where can they connect with you?
I would love it. I promise not to be annoying. So you can, find me at alignedworkplace.com, soon to be ladderism. Something we don't know yet, but aligned workplace. But if you and you can try it now, type in managing annoying people, I pretty much pop right up. There's that face, Ilene Marcus. And you can put in Ilene Marcus, managing annoying people. You can find me on Amazon, and all roads lead back to my email and my cell phone. So awesome. I love to hear from people.
Awesome. I've got several links here for your social media accounts and IleneMarcus.com. I'll definitely drop those in the show notes. Anything you'd like to share before we wrap it up?
I just want to remind everybody that you are too audacious to be annoyed. So, clamp down on being annoyed and then follow your path. Follow, what you want to be. Be that audacious person. Lean into it and amplify it.
Fantastic advice. Thank you so much for your time today, Ilene.
Thank you. Have a great day, Ken.